My rule is if I stand up to order my food and I have to get it, there's probably not a very big tip in it for you. If you bring me my food, you take my order, absolutely going to give you a tip. If I'm driving through, there's no tip. You're doing your job. I came here to order a thing from you. You came here to sell a thing to me. That's great. That's the whole transaction. There is no extra transaction required. If somebody's doing service for you, you get a haircut, come clean your house, that's all fine. Tip all those people. Tip your service providers where that's the norm. But the idea that I go buy a product and you hand me the product from the shelf across the counter and then I'm supposed to give you a tip, that's insane to me. I have the same opinion everybody else has on tip culture. It's out of control.
The tipping culture in America is out of control. What do you mean I've just got a bottle of water out the fridge myself, gone up to the till, and they've asked me if I want to tip them? What did they do? I got the water myself.
This is controversial and it will piss off some of you, but normalize clicking no tip on the iPad. Normalize it! Because I am dead tired of paying for things that should not be tippable. Like, I just went to a coffee shop to buy a bottle of water, and like the lady turns around, opens the fridge door, and pulls out a bottle of water, right? She shows me the iPad, like she turns it around, and then it's like 15, 18, 20. I'm like, girl, forgive me, no tip. But like, I'm sorry, like the way she like, I know the tipping prompt is like involuntary, like regardless of what I order, like it will pop up. But like, you look at me dead in the eyes and you flip that iPad and you show it to me, like, pretending like we don't both know what you're doing. I don't know, I think that's crazy to me. In fact, it's not even the worst of all examples. I think tipping culture has gone out of control. We should not be tipping for basic service. Like, what is next?
I just left Olive Garden to pick up a catering order and they asked me, did I want a tip? Am I tripping? Because I said no. So I ordered a pan of baked ziti for an Easter dinner I'm going to tomorrow. And when I get there, the girl behind the counter is like, oh, it'll be XYZ the cost. And I'm like, I already paid online before I checked out. And she's like, well, I'm not seeing that. And I immediately said, please get the manager, because I don't know about y'all. This new staff they have in restaurants these days have zero training. I used to work in restaurants, okay? The customer service is the bars in hell. Manager comes over and she's like, oh, I see where you paid. There's just a hold there in case you want to add more for a tip. I said, a tip for a to-go catering order? No. And I take my bag and I leave. And as I'm walking out the door, I hear a little bitch behind the counter talking about, that was rude. And I turned around and I said, excuse me, did you say something? And she's like, have a good day. Girl, I heard what the fuck you said, but I'm on their turf. I'm not about to get jumped in Olive Garden by the wait staff. But am I tripping? Like, why would I tip on a catering order, a pan that nobody served me anything? I'm not eating it there. Literally all you did was put it in the bag. Am I tripping?
Paint me out to be the villain here, because I'm not. I'm just going to share my opinion. I've never been a server, but I never would, because I know the nonsense that they have to deal with on a daily basis, and I know I cannot manage it. I automatically respect someone who was or is a server. However, we need to stop blaming the customers and calling them cheap and stingy just because they don't tip, because tipping is not mandatory. It is a choice. 98% of the time when I go out to eat, I tip because my service is at least good. It just has to be good in order for you to get a tip. If your service is bad to the point where I don't want to come back, I'm not giving you a tip. But it is not the customer's job to pay your wage. We need to be taking this up with companies who are not paying their staff enough money. Tipping culture has gone insane in America. A lot of places nowadays add the gratuity to your receipt, so you don't even have the choice to choose how much you want to tip if you want to tip. Blame the wage makers, not the customers.
And just to make sure we're all in agreement, we are not tipping people who do to-go orders, right? And we're also not tipping drive-thru workers, and we are not tipping people who just place our order, right? Because I was at Bojangles the other day and they asked me for a tip. We're not doing that, right?
I'm going to hit no tip every time. If I'm at Starbucks, Buffalo Wild Wings, or a place that you really not serving me, and you turn that little iPad around and says, gonna ask you a little question, I'm gonna look you dead in your face, and I'm gonna click no tip.
If you don't have money to tip your server and you go out to eat and don't tip your server, I have zero respect for you.
You know tipping culture is bad in America when I have to go to custom tip and manually put 0. They are so petty that they will do anything in their power to make you start at 18%. And if you don't want to do that bullshit, you have to go to custom tip and manually type it. To whoever designed that thinking it would bring in more money, I can tell you right now that it's completely backfiring. I think most people would tip if it just started at 10 or 15%. But if you're starting your tip at 18% and you're making the page unskippable, I will gladly take the time to go to custom tip and put a fat fucking 0.
Why am I being asked to tip 20% for someone to hand me a pizza? I went to go pick up my pizza, $20 pizza at a takeout pizza place, and I was asked to tip 20%. And when I declined to tip, I felt awkward because I got a look from the cashier. Listen, I'm not anti-tipping. I just don't understand why we're being asked to tip on basic services that we never were before. I get it if I'm sitting down at a restaurant and a server's coming up and they're catering to me, but when I'm going to pick up something that used to never have a tipping service and now there is, I'm just really confused. What's going on? I kind of feel like if your employer's not paying you a living wage, then why are you working there? Does anyone else think tipping culture has just gone too far?
I don't know if this is bitchy, but I just went to Alfred's, got a matcha with lavender, and then I went to Joe's and got a Joe's Club, which is like a chicken sandwich kind of vibe. Let's actually look at it. And every place I go to these days, there's an option to tip. And don't get me wrong, I'll definitely tip if you're bringing me my food, and if the service is great, I'll even tip more than the 18%. But I just feel like if I'm walking my ass in, going to the counter, I'm not tipping. I don't know if that's cheap, but I just don't feel the need to tip if I'm walking up to an establishment. It's just like, you're not serving me my food. Am I wrong? Am I the only one that thinks this way? I don't know. Unless I'm being served, tipping is just out of the question for me.
I went to Subway today, and when it was time to pay, the lady took the little tip thing and turned it, and she was like, we're gonna skip this. And I was just like, why? And she was like, girl, we don't see any of that money anyways. It goes straight to the owner. She was like, so unless you see a jar, don't ever click the tip button. And I was like, you serious?
Does anyone else's job do this?
Are we tipping at drive-thrus? I just picked up some food and I went through the drive-thru and they handed me the little thing that said 18, 20, 22% or whatever. And I picked 18 because I didn't want to tip 20. And then I felt like an asshole for tipping 18 instead of 20 plus, but it was the drive-thru. What are we doing these days? Fill me in.
I just got a call from my landlord asking me when my movers are coming next week. The problem is I'm not moving out next week. I'm moving out next month because that's when my lease ends. And I told her this. She goes dead silent, hangs up the phone. 2 hours later, I get a call from the broker who very nicely, very apologetically asked me, would it be possible to vacate your apartment early? Because somebody else is moving in. Like apparently my landlord had like gotten the dates mixed up and rented my apartment while I still have a lease. So I'm like, okay, like this, first of all, I don't know if I can, but also I literally broached this topic with my landlord 2 weeks ago. I was like, I would like to maybe move out a bit early. Can we prorate the rent and do that? And she was like, absolutely not. That's not how leases work. I was like, fine, whatever. I'll just leave on the last day of my lease, then May 31st, like as agreed. I don't know how she got this mixed up. Now she's asking me to leave, or she's not even asking me herself. She's asking the broker to do it because I bet she feels awkward about this whole situation, which is, yeah. I don't know what to do because on one hand, I do want to leave this apartment ASAP because I just saw another cockroach. But also like, I feel like I have a lease. Like, why do I have to mess up my schedule to, accommodate my landlord's fuck up, especially when she wasn't being accommodating to me before,
One thing I'll never understand is the discourse over tipping. Like, tipping in America, I don't understand why it's such a big deal to people. It's really not that deep. Like, I just got the video of this girl on my For You page, like, talking about how she hates how every time she goes out to eat, she has to worry about tipping. And she wishes that she didn't have to. And she's like, why do I have to reward you because your job doesn't want to pay you a livable wage? And it's like, you guys continue to make this argument as if this is something new. And also, personally, as a server and bartender, I do not want to be paid a livable wage. No, thank you. That's why I became a server and a bartender. I want to get paid in tips. I love working for tips. I love getting that reward for trying my fucking best and running around and changing the soda machine and getting you your 15th refill of Diet Coke. Like, I want that reward at the end, and I'm going to work my ass off for it. If you can't tip me for that, then don't fucking go out to eat. Like, and if you've never worked in the service industry, then I just think you should keep your opinion to yourself. Like, personally, I love serving because I feel like I'm working for myself. Like, yes, I'm working technically for a company, like whatever, I have to follow their rules, their dress code, etc. But like, I have to work for that tip. you know? And another thing, I don't go out to eat often, but when I do, 20% is my base tip. I tip 20% no matter what, and I almost never just tip 20%. It's usually above, almost always. And I plan that in my head. You know what I mean? Like, I know that no matter what I get, I'm gonna be tipping 20% at least. And I remember one time when I was working, I got a note on the table that said, sorry, you were so good. I really wish I had more money, but I can't tip you. And it's like, shit like that really pisses me off. Like, okay, at least you acknowledged it and like, thanks for telling me I did a good job, but like, now I didn't get paid for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that shit pisses me off. And it's like, if you can't afford to tip, do not go out to eat. In America, it is really that simple. It really, really is that simple. Don't go out to eat, order takeout. Okay, like, simple. Pick it up yourself, period. Like, that's it.
I went to dinner with my parents last night and we did not tip our server, and I want to know what you would have done in our situation. The first time our server came over, we got waters. Then when she came back with those, 5 minutes later, my mom and I ordered espresso martinis. Then we ordered our food as well. I see this steak salad on the menu. I'm like, delicious. I want it. I'll get it. My mom sees these chicken fajitas. She's like, wow, that's a ton of food. My dad's like, yum, I'll split that with you. They say to our server, wow, that's a ton of food. Is that enough for both of us? She says, yes, definitely. It's a ton of food. Like, you're good. So they order that. At this same time, my dad also orders a side Caesar. She comes back over like 20 minutes later and says, oh, your food will be out shortly. My mom and I say, okay, what about our espresso martinis? And you can see the panic on her face, remembering she forgot to bring those in. So she goes back to the bar, punches those in, comes back. She's like, oh, they had to reset the espresso machine, so it'll be out soon. We're like, okay, whatever, you forgot. Food comes out. This was my salad. Yum, delicious, perfect. And this was my parents' ton of food fajita. She also never brought my dad Caesar salad. 5-10 minutes later, she brings our espresso martinis. My parents are like, hey, so like, this is not what we ordered. You said it would be a ton of food. You said it would be like the picture. This is not like the picture at all. And she's like, oh yeah, like that's what the chicken fajita is. And my parents are like, that's not what you told us. She then goes on to say that this is this chicken and steak combo fajitas. But if you look, that's all chicken. There ain't no steak there. Basically, she's just arguing with us. So my mom asked for the manager. And the first manager is where everything went very south. She comes over and is immediately like talking very loudly, talking over us, not letting us tell her like the story. And she's like, yeah, it's basically like a chip bag where they enlarge everything to make it like seem better. And my parents are like, no, like our server told us that that's what we were getting. So as a manager, I'm not a manager. If I was the manager, I'd be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm so sorry. She told you the wrong thing. I'm just going to eat the cost of another chicken breast and bring that out for you because that's what you were told you were getting. And just whatever. Shit happens. Who cares? But she's just talking over us, yelling about how we're wrong and what else do we want to order and pay for. And my parents are like, we're not paying $26 for what we got. We also told the first manager we hadn't got our espresso martinis yet, and she said it was because the bar was slammed, but the two bartenders were standing there talking because they had nothing else to be doing. Eventually she says something like, yeah, I hear you, I'm listening. My mom goes, no, you're not, you're talking over. She says, I'm done, I'm going to get the other manager. And I'm acting this out for you. We're gonna pretend the other manager's right like here. So she runs over, she's like jumping up and down, pointing at us, yelling at the other manager about what's going on, and everyone in the bar area is like turning, like open mouth staring at us, and we're like, what is going on? Also, my dad had still yet to get his Caesar salad after my server said she would go figure that out. So manager 2 waits like 10-15 minutes to come over, so their food has been sitting there, it's cold now. I'd started eating, and he's like, what more do you want to order? And my parents like, we don't want to order anything else. This is not $26 worth of food. We were promised the picture. Can you bring us another chicken breast? He never offers to do that. He did end up getting my dad Caesar salad, which he had ordered 45 minutes ago at this point in time, and nothing else was done to resolve the situation at all. So my parents just ended up not eating the fajitas. It's like 9 p.m. at this point in time, so I ate my salad, they sat there, we watched the UK-UT game, and then we didn't tip. If it wasn't for the rudeness of the first manager, we probably would have given the server a couple dollars, but we didn't because the manager was insane and out of line and should not be managing anything. What would you have done in our situation? Would you have tipped?
There is no freaking way. I just went to go get froyo, where you make it yourself. Okay, I'm sitting there with my little bowl, and I put my ice cream in, and then I move over to my favorite section, the toppings, okay? And I put in some chocolate-covered strawberries, some brownies, and then I move over to the little section where you have to weigh your ice cream, and it gives you the total. And not gonna lie, y'all, that was some expensive froyo. But anything to make my stomach happy, of course. And so I take out my wallet, pull out my card, and I'm tapping it, and it's not working. So I was like, okay, maybe I can swipe it. I swipe it, and it's still not going through. And I was low-key getting embarrassed because, like, there's people behind me. And the worker comes up to me, and he's like, it's not going through because it's asking you to tip. I was like, oh. And he was like, press the bottom right corner. And I was like, the no tip? And he goes, yeah, we don't get those tips anyway. The owner keeps them. If we don't get paid enough. I was like, oh, but I'm just here for my froyo, okay? But like, I think it's crazy that these self-serve places are asking you to tip and the owners are keeping it. Like, that makes no sense at all.
At the risk of being called broke, I gotta ask. Can we all admit that this tipping shit has gotten out of control? And don't get me wrong, restaurants, I get it. Waitresses, waiters, I know y'all only making about 45 cents an hour. And that's crazy. So I get it. The minimum I tip is about 15%. And I could tip up to 100% of the bill. It just depends on how I'm feeling. The drunker I am, the more I'm finna tip. You understand me? But if I'm placing an order online for some food and you're making me pay online, like there's no option for me to pay at pickup, don't ask me for no damn tip. I ain't even seen the food yet. What? I haven't even seen the food. I don't know what's going on with the food. I could get there and it looked like trash and I'm already tipped 20%. You got to be kidding. What? And not to mention you folks that be providing services. I just seen this video. This girl went to go get a massage. They asked her to pay for the massage before she got the massage, and then asked for a tip before she got the massage, and then got mad when she tipped like 10%. What? That's crazy. What be on y'all's mental for real? Why not just increase your, if you want the tip that bad, increase your prices.